Hi everybody, Mama Liz here, doing a quick update on the Summer Wells case because I know some of y'all have been following me for my mental thoughts on the matter. If you hear Causey whining, it's because I have put him in his kennel for right now so that he will not chomp his food behind me, even though Oscar's going to do it anyway. Okay, let's just get right into it. The interview that Dawn did with the interview room, I don't always like the pattern of behavior that the interview room guy chooses to follow when he's interviewing people, because sometimes I think he gets too sympathetic or even empathetic, and I think that even when you're interviewing people and you're trying to build trust and get that from them, you still need to have a clear boundary of I'm willing to hear your story, I'm willing to let you talk, but I'm not going to adopt or adapt to your lifestyle to do that. And I know he's been quite successful, and there's some aspects that he does that I really like, and then that kind of bothers me. But I'm not the one interviewing the man, so kudos to him. He can do whatever the heck he wants. I just want you to know that sometimes when I watch the interview room, sometimes I get a little off-put by that. I just trying to be honest with you. Now, everybody is really upset about Dawn going on social media and making the post that he made after being on the interview room. And I'm just going to tell y'all, if you do not think this has been a manipulation theater from the get-go, y'all are so lost. It's a sad situation. This is tragic. A young life has just blipped off the radar. And we don't know where she is. We don't know what's happened. And at the same time, the 2 to 3 closest people that could help to find her are more set on how the world is relating to them, their emotions, what they need, and telling half-truths or trying to manipulate the story, with these stupid social media posts. And people go, well, surely they wouldn't do that. Surely they, I can, as a mother, I can only think that she must be torn apart. Let me tell you something about society really quick. As somebody that was a parole officer and has witnessed the whole gamut, the whole rainbow Skittles mix of people out there. There are layers to society that you don't want to know about. And there are people that are capable of such things you're better off not to know. And if you go through life and you can't identify some of these layers to society, you are so lucky. You're so lucky, because I can. And once you recognize the underbelly, it's always prominent in your mind. It's always there, and you always know that the human component has this capable black spot in their heart that they can go to. I have severe questions. Like, has anybody noticed how the interview room guy finally started hitting on stuff that I said about Dawn, like in my first video, that he was deflective and he was controlling, and I don't like the way he was taking the lead in the interviews, and I don't like the way he was like almost muzzling Candace, and then when Candace started speaking, she definitely can speak for herself. So why was he doing that? I'm going to tell you my theory on this. This is just my theory, and everybody gets pissed off because everybody's on social media saying their theory. But at the end of the day, all we have is our gut instinct and what we feel. We can share that, and maybe somebody will share something that will click a light bulb and make something come together for this case. But my theory is that a lot of the bravado we are seeing out of Dawn right now is just pure arrogance. Pure arrogance because he knows that he can camouflage himself in several layers of society. Because he's been in several layers of society. He's been the felon, he's been in prison, which is a society unto itself. He has been probably on paper supervision in multiple states, and that's probably held 3 to 4 different ways because each state is different. He's been probably in big cities, and he's been in podunk town. So he thinks he's like a master manipulator and can camouflage like a chameleon into society. And he thinks he's pretty handy at this. And that is pure arrogance, and that will be his downfall. If somebody is guilty of something, arrogance will always lead to it. because eventually it will slip. We're starting to see the behavior become more erratic and hostile on social media, which tells me when you get more aggressive, it's because you're more defensive. So that tells me something's getting close, or something feels like it's impending. And again, nobody's been charged, nobody's been arrested. I'm not saying anybody's guilty of anything. This is just how I feel. But working with so many in that demographic, that's just what I pick up on. And I'm not saying that once you're in that demographic, you're stuck there. I have met people that have turned their life around. The person that taught me the most about life spent 20 years in a Kentucky prison for murder, and came out and he committed his life to trying to make up for the life he took. And it was just amazing to watch this man go back and offer himself back to society and try to build back this life that he had taken. And he wanted to be good, because he wanted to put the goodness back that he knew he had extinguished. And so I've seen people make huge turnarounds. There's something about that just doesn't sit right with me. And one of the big kickers that really doesn't sit right with me, of course, we know the allegations from the other family members. We know that it's generational. We know that we have more than one generation that has participated in behaviors of an unpleasant nature towards females. And that just makes me wonder if it has continued in any other generations. I'm not trying to say anything horrible about children or anything. I'm not trying to, and I hate to almost make our minds go there, but we have to think this way in order to see all the pictures, so that we can get all the pieces possible and try to find this child. So it just opens a whole new door, especially when they were so adamant to show Summer's bedroom on the home tour, but then he says that she slept with them their whole life, and that his heart was especially hers, and there was no love he knew. There was no love he knew like her love. All of this leaves a very bad taste in my mouth, because these are things that I have seen and heard from people that have state numbers attached to them. And I'm trying to say this as nice as possible. It tells me that there are unhealthy boundaries, that she probably didn't know boundaries with other people because she had not been taught them at home. And therefore it opens her up to a whole passel of problems. People, you've got to start to teach your kids appropriate, inappropriate behavior by adults. I did from a very young age. Of course, my kids were raised, they had to be aware because of my job. But you need to teach your kids appropriate, inappropriate behavior by adults, how to profile a crowd, how to look for behavior that is aggressive, that is predatory, and how to understand somebody that is manipulating them. You might have some sarcastic and cynical kids there when they, get to late teenage, but now you'll be happy when they turn into an adult and they go, hey, you know something? I was kind of irritated that you made me have to glimpse this side of the world, but thank you, because I didn't trip into it later. They will thank you. But that's just kind of how I feel. Don continues to tell half-truths. Like when he said they took blood and, oh yeah, Candace came up positive for marijuana. People are like, well, why would he offer that information? He offers that much information so you don't ask for that much. If you go into somebody's house and they've got a cake on the table and they offer you one piece, are you going to ask for the whole cake? No, because they offered you one piece. But if you go in and you see that cake and they don't offer you a piece of cake, when you get ready to leave, you go, can I take a couple pieces home? And they know if they don't offer it to you, they're going to have to give more in the end. And it's just normal behavior between that banter back and forth, that give and take that society has and that people have in interactions. And he does that so he doesn't have to give this much. And so that when you go back and question him, he goes, but I told you the truth. Well, you told me the truth. You told me the minimal amount of the truth. You didn't tell me the whole truth. And this is something that he's probably done his entire life. These are behaviors that are embedded in him. These are things that he has practiced for generations. And I just hope that if he accidentally glimpses this, I hope he understands that nobody is asking you to act like a felon, but you're getting stuck in that rut. And every time somebody questions you, you go back to, well, it's my past. Well, it's my, okay, listen, we can't erase that. Not even Jesus can erase that. It is here, and it is going to be on your tab until whatever ending you think you're going to have, and whatever meeting with the Lord you think you're going to have. That's just it. We have to be aware of the whole picture, and sadly the whole picture does involve some criminal behavior because of choices that have been made in the past. That is no one's fault but Dawn's. And he has to be open to be scoured and to have these questions tossed to him, and he has to be open to understand why, because he has to be open enough to divulge everything to get that little girl back if possible. And I see a hesitancy there, and just 2 seconds of hesitancy can cost this little girl her life if she's still alive somewhere, and that bothers me. And I also question if they call the law right away as they said they did, because I just know that from that demographic and from the admission of what was found in the blood and the admission of past behaviors and the admission of the I don't trust police, those types of individuals that have a very deep-seated paranoia because of past interactions with law enforcement, they don't readily pick up the phone and call 911 because they don't readily want to open their life up to 911. So I wonder about the time frame too. But I think that Chris definitely pinged on some generational issues and the manipulation and the deflection, and that's a huge sign for me of guilt. The aggressiveness and the defensiveness that we're seeing online is another red flag for me. And like I said, nobody's been charged or convicted or anything. These are all allegations, and this is just how I feel about this. This is just my opinions. But to me, I don't think either of them have clean hands in this scenario. For either they have more information they're not divulging, or they know something they're not divulging, or they participated in something they're not divulging. But for him to say, oh, I have drug dealers on my property, that tells me he is still actively in that lifestyle. And that opens up a whole, it just discredits all the good he tries to say he's doing and the changes, when he then has to open his mouth and say, oh, I have drug dealers on my land all the time. I had one camping here. I had a guy camping here, and I let these guys camp here. And logical, rational adults and parents go, you build a hedge around your children. But when you have obligations and debts, your children are your biggest liability. And that is kind of where my brain is stuck. And it makes me sad. And it makes me wonder what's going on. It makes me wonder if I have gotten it in my brain. And if I have, it makes me very sad. And I could be absolutely wrong. And maybe one day we'll know. I doubt we'll ever know the truth, the real story, 100%. But let me know what y'all are dealing with and thinking of, because that's where my brain went after the interview room. I look rough. I've had a couple of rough health days. It was beautiful outside, and I felt like absolute crap. Like the weather and my health never line up. I would like 2 gorgeous days to just sit in the sun and go, and not look like a vampire. That's where I am. I want to hear y'all's feedback, so please give me some feedback. It makes me feel better to know if people are in the realm of where I am. Mama Liz out.